All right, now we're back up in the loft where we belong with the Battle of Hastings. This has certain advantages. One, you can use a little cup for selection of seizure counters. Two, I can find whatever dice I want color-wise within limits. I don't have a good purple, unfortunately. But whatever. A couple of points of interest from things I've said in other games, games of this. One, I had mentioned I don't think I had anything on Tinchebrai. It was pointed out to me that House of Normandy, which it turns out that I have indeed videoed and played, didn't make a lot of impression on me. I looked at the maps and I'm like, wow, I'm kind of surprised it didn't, because they're really kind of ugly. I don't remember what I had to say about it at all. That contains that battle, so that's one that I have played. The other is the continuation marker. So I remembered this being in existence for other games in the Men of Iron series. And there is one here. I had it in a bag that it shouldn't have been in. It's basically got the same kind of colorations as the seizure markers. I'm not sure why it ended up in the wrong bag. But with the help of a viewer, I was able to find it. He assured me it existed. At which point I started making my little ribs about, well, did you see it in my counter tray? Because I could have lost it, conceivably. And, you know, it was good to know that one existed for the game. It would have been very unlikely that it didn't, given that there's like a spare counter at least, maybe more than one. But anyway, here we are at Hastings. This is going to be something of a test. Again, another regular viewer, John, has he played through some of these before. He had a similar experience in terms of the advantage going too much to the attacker. Obviously, you expect the Normans to have a fair chance at Hastings. And so far, I don't think we fought a battle where the attacker didn't historically win. So it kind of works okay that way too. But it felt too light a victory in each case. Like, it felt way unbalanced in favor of the attacking side. We'll see if this is as bad. He claimed to have gotten somewhat better results in terms of the shield wall holding a little bit. Well, not holding, being able to be reinforced. Speaking of which, we will have all of the Saxon units there in shield wall. I made some choice. There are some choices you can make here. The Normans are going to be going first. They have 4 seizure counters. I ended up drawing 1 seizure. And unsteady troops. Jeez, what does that do? Just like demoralizes someone? Yeah, it disorders an enemy unit, which can be a huge advantage. A seizure negation and an into the breach, which allows you to rally something, but I'm not sure. No, +1 to the combat DRM. I wish they just told you what they did instead of having a name on them. It would be easy. The seizure opportunities are easy. The seizure negation are easy. But something like into the breach, you know, is that rally some forces to get them in? No, it gives guys where there might not be any breach a +1 to attack. Wow, that's not really intuitive. And if you're going to give me names like that that are not descriptive of what the action is, they should really be intuitive at the very least. Battle Cry. Battle Cry would make sense with either one, but to me it actually makes more sense in terms of giving a +1, but whatever again. Okay. We've got 3 wings to each 3 battles to each side. Whatever. The Normans are going to go first. They can't form a shield wall. This is going to have timed engagement at 15 turns against the Normans. Terrain. Okay. So there's a lot of map on this one, and it's because there's some argument that this was where the battle actually was fought as opposed to Battle Hill. They gave battles for both. There's some marshy terrain sitting there. The streams cost +2 movement points for mounted units. Mounted units charge past, can't cross them. The marshes are nasty. You don't want to be in them, although for some reason the Normans decide to deploy in them to begin with. It doesn't really hurt. Going up a level is going to be a penalty. Now, this is kind of interesting. I'm not using the terrain as the Saxons, which I find kind of intriguing. Maybe they would be using the terrain here. And that's that. Okay. There is a special rule in this one. In place of any one free activation after the Norman player reaches 12 flight points. Oh, that's going to be painful. So, I've got these marked here. 12 flight points would mean, I'm going to work backwards. 12 flight points would mean I'm down to like 16. I just like working backwards better, and this one I can do it. There is no under balance, nothing that like have the die rolls or whatever. The points are much, much higher in this, so you're going to get a bigger battle. I think, I kind of suspect that those are optional rules to make the battles last a little longer, so you don't feel like you spent a lot of time setting something up and you don't get any play out of it. And with these larger battles, they're like, you don't need it. Yeah, you're going to have enough time to explore the game. Okay. The Normans, so they can declare a pause in the battle. Then you follow a sequence of steps. The Norman player can move any of their units up to 2 hexes toward the southern map head, which I think is over here, if I can find. Yeah. Adjacency rules are not considered during this move. Both players may rally all disordered units. These units may still follow the normal rally rules and not be adjacent to an enemy. Both players may rally all retired units. Normal rally rules apply. I'm not sure what that even means. Like, they have to be adjacent to a standard? I guess. I'm not positive. The Saxon player may place any of his battles in shield wall. The time marker goes 3 spaces towards 0, and play passes to the Saxon player, who gets a free activation. Lets you reset the battle. I don't know what the timer is going to do. Not much, I would guess. And then we have another set of setups that would put you up on this Caldbeck Hill. I don't have a visual of it. They only give the visual of the basic Battle Hill deployment, so it's kind of hard to compare them. We could take a look at where the Saxons are deployed. 1102 to 1109. Yeah, see, they're gonna be getting the terrain advantage on that one, which is kind of funky. But here, 07 out to 09. Yeah, but here they're not. So I don't know. I really don't know. And then, yeah. And that one, same flight levels, sure. Now my foot's hurting me. I have a band on it, and sometimes it cuts funny and feels awful. I think we're going to pause before we actually start. I'm kind of failing to avoid playing Raid. Like, I just don't know what to do otherwise. Maybe I'll go out and try to do some lawn, some yard work or something. It's Monday morning. I'm incredibly stressed about the whole work thing. yeah, I kind of reached out with a lukewarm answer, and now I'm probably going to end up interviewing and probably going to end up getting the work. And I really don't know that I want it. Okay. And it's pretty much paralyzed me. Like I can't make decisions, right? And money would be good. There's no question about that. At the point where, in another year or so, I'm going to have to sell off stocks or something, probably, if I don't start making some. Plus, I found out this year on my taxes, I'm not allowed to put money into a Roth IRA unless I make money. Now that makes sense with a normal IRA. You wouldn't want to. It doesn't do you anything because it just reduces your taxes. But with the Roth, it reduces the taxes when you withdraw the money, which I thought you could just throw money in there. See, I did it before when I wasn't working, but my wife was working, so it was allowable. My first wife. So I just didn't realize that that wasn't an option. And also maybe rules have changed. Anyway, on top of that, unfortunately, I've been playing a reasonable amount of Raid, which I wasn't intending to do, but it just sucks you in. And the part of the problem is I'm watching Witcher 3 videos. I don't know if I'm trying to get myself back into trying to play it or not. And also Kingdom Come, which both were games I enjoyed and didn't complete for various reasons at various times. And I really wish I had played more. I had gotten through Witcher 3 while my wife was alive. I think she would have enjoyed, because she went through and finished it, and I didn't, and she would have enjoyed me doing so. But anyway, I made a couple of changes in my setup. I pulled my archers back behind the lines. I forgot that you can arc fire with the archers. And I think in this situation, I definitely want to be doing that because I've got a whole shield wall. Now you'll notice I've got seizure markers. That's because there's too limited a number of shield wall to defend this whole position. Whatever. I can live with it. The seizures aren't doing me any good. I've got them over here. And I guess I start. Geez, it's been a few days. I don't remember how to play anymore already. I mean, I kind of do. I don't know who to start with. Now, there were, historically, what happened is that the Normans sent the archers forward. They didn't do much. Then they sent the foot forward and then charged with the cav. It's what it's set up to do. It doesn't feel terribly useful, but the cav, there's a disadvantage. This is the game, right? Where cav aren't going to charge. They have a reluctance. I haven't played with horsies for a long time. The cav have a reluctance to charging against formed units, which we might have to maneuver and whatnot. Given that, I think we want to try to get around these edges. What does that water do? That stream, it's got a -1 for mounted DRM, but I don't think that, the +2 movement might be enough to prevent charges. So that's kind of problematic. All right, well, we'll start over here with useless. First and simple charge reluctance. I'm not allowed to target the shield wall with a charge, so I've got to break that up. So far, I've gotten a couple of archery shots off. They've both been successful. The shield wall doesn't do a hell of a lot against them. Trying to figure out what I want to do with my cav. The upslope is just +1 movement, so I might want to keep them kind of further back. Not this far back, but part of it is to allow William to be able to move forward and give a command bonus. I'm thinking this side of the battlefield looks pretty iffy with that stream there, but you know, if I can, like, it kind of anchors them where there's nothing really anchoring them down here. So if I shift my whole battle in that direction, that might be my best move. I feel like there's any reason to try to do a seizure here, so I'm actually going to go for William next because I just don't know where these are going to line up. And again, I'm okay with attacking kind of an echelon. So he's got a 4. And he gets that. And our newly found counter. Comes the big question. Do I want to try to trigger Eustace again, or a less likely, because Eustace is within command range of William. I think I'm going to go with Eustace. Again, I think I've got the best chance of breaking things here, and I'm just not that impressed with moving that flank. Again, no reason for a seizure opportunity. So his roll would be a 3, -1, +1, whatever. And we end up giving a free activation over to the Saxons. Now, the archers are just normal archers. They're not going to be able to return fire to units that aren't engaged. But I probably want to move them up so that, well, it's not return fire, but I want to probably move them up in position, maybe, I don't know, so that when the Normans do move, I can do something. I might also just want to pass, but here's the thing. I've got some disordered units. I want to rally them. So passing seems like a dumb idea. I think trying to win a timed victory is just about impossible in this system. Now what's neat here is I flip this over, and it's now colored for this side, which is why it's such a multicolored counter. And that kind of helps. All right, I'm going to hold off on my decision because I have to go check on my Witcher, on my Witcher videos. I have to go check on what's going on in Raid, and probably watch some video too. A few hours later, and my stress levels are just getting too high. I really wish none of this had happened in terms of like the work shed. Like, I made my horrible choices, whatever they are. Anyway, I think I've revealed the units that are disordered under the shield wall markers. It's always painful having things covered. And that means I'm going to trigger Kent here, just so that I can recover those units, and also, I guess, move my archer forward, maybe shift that extra pikeman, stuff like that. Nothing big. We end up with another Norman free activation right after that. I didn't get the continuation. Again, I don't know. Do I want to shift this, get these guys into action? I mean, this is just whatever I degraded has just become undegraded. However, now my pike are in range that they could actually hit things. Plus I could like shift around to here and fire from behind. So I think it's best to continue moving, continue using this formation over here on the right. Because I was a little confused from Summerstorm, where artillery can fire either before moving or after moving, but not in either. In this, firing ends your movement. So I had to create kind of a hole in my attack because, and I put a shock marker here, I don't know why. Everybody's pretty much lined up one-on-one other than these two, I guess. But I snuck around behind him hoping for better results, didn't get them. And we'll try launching our attacks and we'll see what happens. They shouldn't be that good, but in the past, what we've seen is the attacker just has an advantage, being able to hit even against a shield wall. And the reason is, look, the shock combat results, I don't know, they're kind of even. I'm not really sure why. Maybe I was just getting good results or something. Certainly the leader could be adding a bonus, but I chose not to do that. Not sure why there either. We'll see if we break through. Yeah, because if you look at this, on a 6 or higher, we get a good result, which means 6, 7, 8, 9, 4 results. On a 3 or less, we get a bad result, 0, 1, 2, 3. It should be about even. And with a -1 from the shield wall, it should go against the attacker. So I don't know. I think maybe I was just getting kind of really lucky with my attackers before. Obviously, you have some capability to, do something like this around a flank or something where you get some additional advantages. The other thing that comes into play is that the defensive values of these pikemen are not necessarily very good. So those units with a +1 or whatever, I don't think there are any with less than a 0. And that probably came into play. All of the Saxons are on the board now. It might have been that we've got some stronger ones on the board for this scenario. Also be some possibility that the engaged rules are somehow interfering with this. I can't quite see a reason why they would. Yeah, and I'm really not sure about that. But now we're on a continuation, and the question is, do we want to use our seizure opportunity here? I'm never using the into the breaches. It is into the breach, right? That gives you the plus? Yeah. It's so hard for me to remember to use chits like that. The seizure ones I can remember because I have to make that decision all the time in the original design. Yeah, I just don't think getting a seizure is all that valuable to me. Sure, I've got this unit that I could recover. Maybe I could fire some archers, although they're too far away. So, yeah, probably not. And where are my archers? Oh, here's these archers for some reason. Okay, so we will go straight to Willie and see if he can get his 4 or less. He cannot, and that gives me the free activation anyway over here. I don't think the attack's terribly valuable. What's going on over here, there's no fighting, so, that doesn't seem too useful. I might just pass here, even though I've got a disordered unit. Well, now wait a minute, I got some disordered here. Yeah, but these guys who are engaged can't. All right, I think I trigger this force to fall back. Problem with that is I can't move while I'm in shield wall. I think I'm allowed to retreat. Let's check that out. Forced to move loses its shield wall, so this guy would no longer be in. I get to put myself back in easily enough. But yeah, I think trying to recover these guys might be of some value. Oh, I fall back a little bit. Could actually move this archer here and take a pot shot. Why don't I do that? Wait, you can't shoot at engaged units. Okay. right? Maybe I'm mistaking this. I thought you couldn't shoot at them. I'm not seeing it. Okay, I'm going to have to look harder because I really remember something where you can't shoot at engaged units. My mind's just working too hard to be able to read. An engaged unit cannot fire nor may it be targeted by missile fire, so no help with that. But I fell back a little bit. The question is, I'm about ready to move it to Harold, making a roll to try to get a continuation. And the question is, does William want to make a seizure on this? I only have one seizure attempt, so I don't think it's a great idea. I really ought to use this unsteady troops in the into the breach and just try to plow that front. I'll let him make his continuation roll, which he succeeds in, which means Harold gets to rally his forces, I guess. Get yet another continuation. I rally these two units, and now the interaction between shield wall and rallying. There's nothing in shield wall that says you can't rally, but it does say a disordered unit can't form shield wall. But under rally, it says disordered units can cure their disorder by spending their entire activation doing nothing. I think forming shield wall would be doing something, so yeah, I had to rally first. And, you know, now I'm at a point where I'd be okay passing if that gave me something, right? But there's nothing it really gives me. I don't know what to do, you know? I mean, I can give a free activation or I can roll dice and handle a free activation off, most likely. There's really no advantage for me to do anything. But if I get a continuation here and again here, I get something. So I'll go for that. I've got a 2 I need, which I don't get. So I give that free activation up anyway. And I'm going to pause for a bit here. I really am stressing so much. There's a reason I stopped looking for work, right? And then, you know, the last time the same person contacted me, you know, to do an interview and everything, I did so, and then the workplace decided, no, we're not interested in hiring somebody to work remotely. I'm like, okay, yeah, but even when it's like this is pretty much assured. Unless something like that happens again, and that was pretty much assured. Even when something's this assured, I'm still like distressed about the whole fucking thing. And I just don't know if it's worth it, especially now, like I'm like, yeah, I've made my peace with, you know, whatever. And I'm kind of afraid of the life changes and everything that come about if I go back to work, even if it's only, you know, 6 months or something, which would be a nice quantity of change. Probably worth it. I mean, I could spend the same amount of effort like trying to get a hold of my wife's money in Portugal, and that's about the same amount. So the next operation by Eustace, who is not at all useless, is a series of attacks coming around that flank. I'm just going to collapse that whole flank, is my plan. We fired some archers. They didn't do much at range, you know, against the shield wall. Here I actually got an elimination. That's not bad. Bit of another little rules question type thing here. I can resolve it, but making an attack with a couple of pikemen against this shield wall here. Now, under shield wall, the way it's stated is when attacked or fired through a frontal hex side, there is a -1 DRM. I think that still applies even though I've got him surrounded. Now I'm going to get the bonus, the +4 for surrounding him and whatnot. It's just, I wanted to point that out. That, yeah, it doesn't specify, like it doesn't say only through a shield wall, right? And I'm being attacked through a shield wall, just like terrain. If you end up attacking through mixed terrain or whatever, penalties apply. Actually had a repulse. The shield wall worked for once. But otherwise, yeah, this is disordered, I think, under there. This guy is engaged disordered. And we have a continued attack here where we eliminated yet another one of those pikemen as the Saxons are falling back again. I think this kind of outflanking maneuver is going to be imminently successful. It looks it. It's a really ugly choice for the Saxons. So again, you know, the Normans are going to try to advance. Now, I kind of ran over my skis here. I moved this the leader over with his horse. I hadn't had him that far over before, but that's in order to get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to get, you know, units like these into command. This archer will not be in command, and that means he's not going to be able to fire, I believe. Which, too bad, you know, whatever. But do I allow him to try to continue and hit with another force? Or is there something really vital I can do here? And I'm having real trouble figuring anything out that I can do to help this situation. I could drop the shield wall attack here. This could attack. I would get a counterattack there, that means. And that would help. Presumably I could drop the shield wall turn and get a better angle. But that exposes a flank that I don't want to expose. Over here, I'm not in good shape. I don't want to fight this, but I got nowhere I can run to. And these guys also have nowhere they can run to. Kind of like, wow, I'm just hosed, you know? No matter how you cut this, I'm going to lose a couple more units. Now, I could try to help some of the flanking situation a little bit, but yeah, it just does not look good. I don't know what happens if this guy marches in here, shocks him, and these guys are engaged. You are allowed, unless I fucked up royally, to throw more units in when there's a shock combat. It's fucked up because, you know, I have to find, like, bullet points is where I'd expect where it would say that I can't do X and Y instead of these paragraphs of information, which is just, this is a GMT common problem, is like, let's write the rules in paragraph form and maybe put some bullet points in. It's why I like the SPI numbering system in particular. Now, it should work okay with the Avalon Hill one or even your Quintos, but both of them, the way they're formatted, just don't work for me. But the way the numbering works is each rule is kind of a separate thing, right? They might be all under something like engaged, but each little section is like one of these bullet points. And it's just something you can look for very quickly and memorize where things are. And it's very easy to find stuff. Whereas wall of text, not so easy. You know, not so easy. Anyway, it's just a gripe about, you know, I feel like the hobby reached its pinnacle in terms of rules writing somewhere around 72 to 74, and you know, with Dunnigan's usage of cases, and those who have copied it well did a good job. Now, yes, I like my Victory Games rules, but mainly because, and I like my Gamers as well, which are a little bit more wordy, but both of them use sort of a, hey, let's use some of the page to express the rules in and a column to express other stuff, and it helps give me a nice visual in a way that I don't know, these colored set-offs and everything, they just confuse me and distract my brain. Anyhow, I don't see anything all that valuable that I do by dropping the seizure opportunity, so I am going to allow William to take his shot, which he gets. And because the footmen are doing such a good job, I just pushed forward with these, fired a couple of arrows, they didn't do anything, and I'm actually throwing William into the fight to try to break through here. You know, if I get lucky, great. If I don't, not so great. He's got a +2 charisma, which most leaders do not, and I don't want to not use that. Do I want to do something else, though? I could do unsteady troops to try to break somewhere else. And of course into the breach to give another bonus. I could just try to bust my way through. And I think I'm going to play a couple of chits for that kind of stuff. In a battle this size, I find myself running out of engaged markers. It's hard to tell because things are double printed in kind of, you know, mixed fashion. But I don't think there are any. And I'm going to start using other counters to mark them down. But yeah, I've got another engagement here. They end up accumulating pretty quickly. I got lots of blank counters I can use for stuff like that. Some of them Saxons are pretty good. I actually got stuck here, a bunch of disorders. It's finally beginning to look like, you know, the shield wall is acting like a shield wall now. These are all engaged markers. I can take the fireds off. And we will try to do Eustace again. However, do we want to throw ourselves into this? There's a lot of advantages for the attackers here. On the other hand, a chance to repulse these might be useful. I don't know. I just don't know. I think I hold off because I just don't see the clear advantage yet. Which means we go back here, and that's going to be a 3 because -1 coming from there and +1 from up there. And we get a free activation over on the Saxon side. Every time I get a free activation, I break. Go watch some video or something. It's basically the only time that I get breaks, and this battle's big enough that I feel like I kind of need them more than some of the others. Plus, something about being in the basement, I don't know why, it just feels like I've worked harder to get down there or something. It's harder to take a break. I'll just go outside for a little walk around my yard or something. My success chances with the two commanders is essentially the same, and I think the king's more important to try to fling things back since I got that. By the way, you know, I watch a little bit of one of these Witcher videos, and it's like poking a raw wound, just because when we first moved to Oregon, my wife got her computer, the one over there, in order to play The Witcher, honestly. And it just, yeah, I don't know. So I'm going to, I think, trigger this and launch the shield wall attacks. They're going to drop their shield wall. They're going to hit because this is all softened up. Of course, that makes it possible. And this is kind of like what historically happened, where the shield wall counterattacks for the knights, or the mounted men-at-arms as they are in this one, to come charging back up. Just all adds to the stress levels. So the poking the wound thing, it's the wound that, like, you know, to some extent is why I went and I think got as addicted as I did to Raid. It's like anytime that I'm away from, you know, what it was originally was work, but then being able to replace work with Raid was a similar kind of thing. Was just like, it just hurts so fucking much, you know? And it still does. It doesn't go away. Yeah. Although I should have used the Into the Breach here, I forgot to do so. Again, I never remember them. I managed there. But we got an incredibly successful series of attacks. Axeman over here under Herald, a whole bunch pushing down here. This was the surprisingly effective one. That was a 9, and that had a chance of actually killing William. That's where I should have used the Into the Breach. Because with a disordered unit at -2 on the attack, but a +1 for the pike, the crappy pike. And now I get a chance to continuation. I've kept my leader, I think, within range of him. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep. So I can try to do that. I think William wants to seize this. And we're going to negate that seizure. I don't know if I'd be allowed to play another one if I had one. But we're looking at like a 4. Which we get. And that's this side. So now I get to launch these guys. I think what happens here is normal rules of combat take play. Let me see. Okay. So this guy could withdraw his shield wall to attack, but he doesn't want to. Same with this guy. I don't know. Does he want to? He might. This guy does want to attack. I think he keeps his engagement, but this attacks this and makes it so he only has to hit 1. Which means I'm going to drop my Into the Breach against that and try to regain control of this flank. This guy's recovering, which he can do under shield wall. I think. Yeah, I think shield wall does not preclude that. It cannot shock attack, it cannot move, it can change facing, la la la, but I don't think it is prevented from recovering, which would make sense. So, yeah, and this is able to shoot. I don't want to shoot the archers. I'm going to shoot at William's unit here. And that shot actually retired the unit William's with. But I had another issue, which is these guys managed to knock this out. Now, somewhere or another, there's a who gets to advance where. It's over here under shock. Okay. Yeah, see, what was confusing me is I'd expect it to be under combat results. Charging, mounted, non-disordered, disordered, which obtained a continued attack. Okay, so I have my choice of these 2 units. I'm going to actually advance this one, I think. I'm not really sure, because I kind of like the idea of getting him in a better facing, but I also kind of like the idea of trying to build up my line. This is the net effect here. I get rid of this and recover him. And now, oh yeah, I've gotten so clumsy. And now I'm going to try to activate him. He would be, I believe, at a 3. So he is going to successfully activate. By the way, these no move, no fire markers, you know, yeah, they tell me what I can't do. They don't tell me why I'm placing it, which is why I got confused. I expect there to be a rally marker. And look, my eyes can see this real well. I can almost see it without my glasses. There would be room for like you know, to have underprinted across that or something to make it look like it's telling you what it's doing. The reason you play that counter is for rally. It's the only reason you play that counter. And it's just rather disturbing not to tell you why you're doing it. The charge, whether you moved or not, is, again, just I don't even know why this is, charge no move, why this is a factor. Like, you have a normal charge counter, you can't charge from like from an adjacent hex, if I recall correctly. And I would look that up if I was trying to do it. But the odd case, in my view, is when you're moving and charging. And I almost just feel like there should be charge counters that have a -1 moved charge or something like that, if they wanted to make things. I just feel like the counter mix was not as carefully designed as it could have been in a lot of ways. I don't know. I'm pesky about shit like that. So now I've got the blue, the Kentians going once more. There what just went. So that roll was for Harold to go again. And he's going to try to punch a hole through the rest of things. Yeah, I was looking at it and I'm like, whoa, why isn't this the thing I just recovered? Yeah, no. I can't do a reactivation on them, so it has to be on something else. And it would be the king, it wouldn't be these forces. Although these might be helpful coming in along the line. But I kind of, I don't know. I mean, the values are the same, so I can kind of make my decision retroactively, I guess, as to which I want to do. That shouldn't be there anymore. Dunno. I think I can do more damage with these guys. I kind of don't like attacking with a disordered unit, but then I have the axes that I can try to bring into play. Yeah, I think I'll go with the king. Okay, so we smacked this guy. He got a disorder and must retreat. He can't retreat into here or here because these two units just hit it. He has to retreat through this, which disorders that. I can push the axeman up, and then I can go back and make this attack that I didn't want to make yet because I want to make it uglier for this unit to retreat. Now, after having busted up the attack that William himself was making, we're going to go back over here and try to use those blue guys. Now, he was a base of 3, still bonused by 1, so 4 minus 2. And now these guys obviously are no longer interested in any kind of attack. This was the more valuable thing if I could get it off. That's not going to succeed. So we go to a free activation here where I bet that standard is going to activate because I want to get all these points back. I did lose 1 unit. Other than that, though, you know, I can still kind of recover. I'm not so badly beaten up that I'm allowed to take the free, you know, reorganize your forces opportunity. With so much broken on the Norman side, there's an interesting question. Do I want to try to seize? We reacted and recovered these pikemen. Now the mounted men are up there. Now if we look at the combat table, attacking mounted men-at-arms is not good. We have a base penalty for it. Axemen are a little better. They tend to be more offensively aligned. In the end, this decision isn't going to matter because the seizure opportunity is their last counter and they have a negation. I'm just going to discard these 2 under that condition and roll for a continuation. What do I want continuing? So Eustace might be my best choice, but I don't really want to do him because I have less of a chance right now. So I'm going to go with William with his 4, which I end up getting. And that'll allow me to recover some of these units, move into place, stuff like that. I'm ordering a series of charges, but let me see about him. Put him up here. I also withdrew this archer. As far as I can see in the engaged rules, there's nothing against archers firing after they're engaged, after they disengage, but they are disordered after disengaging, which is an additional penalty. We've launched the charges forward. Shock ended up, one of them ended up having to make a charge reluctance, and it failed. Gets a shock roll instead. That's where William is. And we'll see if we can break the center of Harold's force. Results were relatively positive. A couple of disorders here. Disordered, these archers got to continue to attack, but now we're hitting the shield wall as well, which, if you recall, that requires 2 combat die rolls. Now, the one against the archers is probably pretty good. The one against the shield wall, maybe not so hot. Those weird results. We hit the archers, got to continue to attack against them after destroying them. This is down to 12 now. Hit the shield wall, got disordered and retreated. But, if I recall correctly, when you continue attack, I can find it. So continued attack is here under results as opposed to, well, the advance after combat. But I believe when you get a continued attack and a retreat, you end up continuing the attack. Now, there's nowhere to continue at 2. I'm not allowed to change facing or anything, so I slide into there, and I couldn't find that rule, but I'm pretty sure that's how it reads. So I've slid into up into there, and now I'm going to try to hit Eustace, who is a 3-2-3. The leader's there. And I managed to get myself another continuation and force his units again. And this is turning out to be more of a battle than the other ones were. Ooh, I forgot to do all my recoveries. Now, these guys withdrew back rather than trying to do any kind of recovery or anything. That opened up a route for the archer to hit, for the charge to happen. We're just trying to break that flank completely at this point. So this is the net effect. Let me get rid of this. A couple of markers that don't belong there anymore. Which has, you know, pretty much collapsed this Saxon left flank. We had a charge reluctance against the disordered guys, but ended up retiring them. The points are down to 7. Now, this was not a free activation, so I get to continue again. I'm going to go over here. That's like a 2 now. Just not using that part of the battlefield, right? Okay, we get a free activation over here, but at the end of that free activation, the Saxons might collapse, which is one hell of a good reason to recover that unit, just to increase my chances, because there's no having the dice on this or anything. Oh boy. I think this is, again, my best move. Gets me one of these back, and that means we make a roll on an 8 or a 9. The game is over. It is not, which means now I can go for a continuation. I don't know where to take it. I was kind of hoping it would just end there. But again, we're seeing, like, the attacker can just basically do what he wants. Now, here, that outflank was key. This does not feel like other Hastings games that I can recall, most specifically the Berg Hastings 1066, where it was real. You couldn't just outflank the enemy and smack him around the way you can in this system. Getting a flank attack is just too easy here, it feels. And once you have that, that whole line just started collapsing in various ways. Although, I gotta be honest, hitting up here was a lot easier than I thought too. I mean, it looked like the Saxons did a lot of damage, but then bang, you know, the Normans just came back real easy. I don't know how much time is meant to be elapsing in all of this, whether this is abstracting away a whole hell of a lot that you see in those other games, but it doesn't feel like it's on the line the same way as well, as anything else that I've seen on Hastings. The real question is, you know, is it the fact that I am kind of aware of how this battle should work that I'm losing, you know, am I losing all faith in the Men of Iron series? Or is it just that, like, something's a little off that's showing up only in this particular edition of it? I certainly feel like defense worked better in other boxes of this. Going all the way back to the Men of Iron box, I remember, you know, part of that was, oh look, infantry standing on defense against a mobile mounted men-at-arms and knights and whatnot could actually do their job. You know? And I remember things kind of being much more fluid. So it may just be the types of troops that are here or whatever, but it feels like something's just wrong compared to what I remember previously out of the series. I don't know, man. The real problems you have is, like, here, look, this guy, I can't remember his name, Leifwin, is, you know, his command is butchered. I kind of would like to do something to help him, but there's so little, I don't want to fire him off again. I've already spent one on that. So I guess I'm going to go with Harold. Meanwhile, nothing is happening over there, which again feels wrong for Hastings. We end up getting the continuation. Nobody's got any chits to play around with anymore. I'll try to figure out what the hell to do. It's kind of hard to tell. The situation's starting to get complex enough. I'm using the shock counters and whatnot to, you know, record things because it's no longer simple lines hitting each other. I'm trying to do my best to blow away Williams' sort of advance down the center. This guy may be in trouble. I think if he gets a retire result, he's got no retreat path possibly. Although I think actually he can retreat there, so he can probably zoom all the way around and get there. But there are potentials, I think, for units to be in a position where they can't retire because of a lack of retreat path. At the very least, a mounted man-at-arms has been destroyed charging in here with these axemen, which is, I guess, something. And now the question is, I think we go over to here just because this is just not going to be able to do a damn thing for me. So that is a 3 because my leader is in play again. And that is a free activation over here. And again, once the free activation fires off, there's a chance the Saxons just are destroyed. I don't want to let up on them. I'm not going to, even if the Normans were weak enough, this situation is good enough, I want to keep the attack going. Of course, it wouldn't be this good if I were weak enough. I like to launch a charge here, but in order to do so, 1, 2, 3, 4, I have to have moved, which means I'm going to put the charge no move marker there for him. Yeah, charge hits an individual unit. That'll remind me that I did move because it's a charge with a move. I'm looking where else. These guys probably take their recoveries. I could throw this in with another charge. That might not be too bad. 1, 2, and then again, we're going to do one of these charge no moves, just to give me the penalty for the charge against this unit. I might get a charge reluctance on that. Am I allowed to charge and shock at the same piece? Somehow I don't think I am. I think we'll just hold this guy back because I don't want to look up the roll. I got pretty good odds on this. Throwing an extra strength point in doesn't really help me very much, and on a really terrible roll it might cause some issue. All right, so we smacked in pretty hard, I guess. I don't know. It's hard to tell. Got a couple of these recoveries coming. But then it's time for the Saxons to make their check, and on a 6 or more, they leave the battlefield. Still there, man. Now it's time for a continuation. It could, of course, pass to force them to make another roll, but they're not going to recover any points or anything, so there's no reason for that. Do we want to try to punch these units from behind? That doesn't look like a bad idea at this point. Yeah, I'm going to take a shot with him. Alan. Good old Al. I mean, William definitely would have an operation he could take, and I'm not too dissatisfied. Like, I'd have a better shot at getting the continuation. But I get one anyway, and I get to move Alan. Here we're pressing in against this flank, against the center again, pushing, my left flank forward this way, ignoring these forces and forcing them to attack or something if they want to get involved in the battle. Well, it's destruction of another unit. Where do I want to go? I'm going to go back to him because I think William just has too many units that need to recover and everything, and I want to do as much damage as I can. So we're at 3, 2, make it 3. Not good enough. That's going to be a free activation over with the Saxons. I'm not going to be able to trigger a standard at this point, which means I have to kind of figure out what to do. Seems like not a bad time to take a break. Although the battle's almost over, but I need to go hurt myself some more. This is all hell because I probably have my first interview type thing. This is just going to be personal, touch base, I guess, make sure that I'm actually wanting this and everything in about 20 minutes. And I just really wish this hadn't happened. Any change is terrible for me, like even something that might be good. And I don't know where this lies. All right, I'm going to try to squeeze in another sequence of activations for the Saxons in that time. Maybe I'll end up running over and missing it or something. And I have to swap batteries first. The situation, I think the best choice is to move the King's center. These guys are still a little out, and I don't buy that they can do much to recover the situation, but this could lose me the situation pretty easily. Of course, if I withdraw and I don't get continuations or something, there could be problems, and I could be in worse shape than I am by staying where I am. Continuing the attack here, I threw the king in there, using some axemen. Here I'm just attacking an archer, who still doesn't get a shot at me. They don't get shots out the side. That feels like that changed, but maybe I was just mistaken before, or maybe I'm just misremembering. And gathering, I got another pikeman I pulled up from back here. Accidentally put this isn't part of his command, so I couldn't rally him. Here's the results after the fight. We pushed some things around a little bit, retired some mounted men, but on a 4 higher, we're done. That's it. All right, that's the Battle of Hastings. The Saxons have just fallen. Assumingly they rout away. There's nothing in the game that handles a pursuit. There are pursuit rules for Blood and Roses. That's basically, and I seem to remember this being an optional, not an optional, but a scenario-based rule in other things as well. But it's basically a situation where, you know, sometimes one like a cav unit or something just would charge somebody off the board, and they would hit it so hard that they would just keep going. You see that in some other systems. It wouldn't apply here, I think. It's kind of hard to see if the Saxon army breaks, what the hell they're going to do to get out of there. You know, they're facing, you know, mounted men who are going to just ride them down. So my feeling is this is the end of Harold's army, because he's facing superior mounted forces. That's it for Hastings. Once again, we see huge advantages for the attacking side. But it doesn't feel like the Saxons could have come charging off the hill and done better, right? Like, there's a reason I didn't move these guys down. They got a slight advantage on defense with the shield wall, and the quality of the Saxon units was heavier than it was in the other battles. I think that, again, this battle is just not terribly well balanced as part of the issue, and maybe it shouldn't be. However, I'm not sure that argument is a fair one. If we look at this, I'm sure they give the advantage. Yeah, they say the Normans are favored to win. I feel like Hastings was a closer run thing than this showed. Yes, there was a point up there where William's center really got thrown back, but the outflank just was too devastating, and I don't feel like the outflank is that devastating in other games on the topic that I've looked at. And I also, I feel like I had a hard time coming to grips with how do we actually hit those Saxons safely in other games. And I feel like the historical is that, yeah, William had a hard time. If the Saxons hadn't come charging down after him, it almost feels like the shield wall should have held, from what I understand of the history. That doesn't feel like anything of this. The shield wall is not impermeable. It's not that strong. It's relatively weak in comparison. These are decent troops, and they're still just, you know, some of them are going to break, and once the defensive line starts falling apart, it's too easy to get an advantage. But beyond that, the outflank was just devastating. It really was. It drove a great deal of these losses. If we look at them, almost everything that's counting towards points is one of those units under under Lifeline. All right, I gotta load this up and check my email and deal with things that I don't know. I again just wish that I could be left in my little decay.